Welcome back to episode 150 of the Red Pill Cartel. Very, very special guest today. A man that really needs no introduction, but I'll give him an introduction anyway. So, this is a man of many talents, an actor, musician, and a martial artist, to name a few. Please welcome Mr. Weston Cage.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, for sure, man. For me, likewise, likewise. Well, I guess we'll get started. Let's go back to your childhood and like how you discovered yourself, how you were raised, and how you discovered yourself, and how long that took.
Absolutely. So around three and a half is when most of my relatives would report that I started doing the kind of like acting, any kind of thespian play-like performances where I would start to perform for friends and family. Then I went directly into YADA, Youth Academy for Dramatic Arts. So around that kind of like 6 to 8 age is when I started picking up on instruments and started playing music and doing martial arts. So three is when I started martial arts. Three is that kind of golden age. I mean, it's like martial arts, acting, and music were just constant. My oldest memories even are the three at the same time as a kid.
Right. Yeah, and of course you how much help did you have from your father when it came to uh getting your feet wet in the entertainment business?
I would say there was tremendous help in regards to the experts I have worked with, and then also his own, critiquing in our exercises that we've done together. I've learned a lot from my father directly. Um, and yeah, I would say that's about the majority. I also did on my own, like some work at Stella Adler when I was 16. I did some courses at the adult level, which was not common for 16-year-olds, which really pushed me. So there's definitely a lot of I was definitely raised to be a polymath, and I hope I'm close to it. There's a lot of different things.
It does seem like you're doing a lot of work, and from my own perspective on what it is that you do, it's kind of, I feel like you're maybe kind of having a little bit difficulty on focusing on one particular thing.
It could be difficult sometimes. I got to anchor certain things and like definitely keep my eyes. It's like making a 16-course dinner or something where you got to watch the stove constantly. I watch all these irons in the fire. Otherwise, something that doesn't work out, and that includes like taking care of family too, kids and stuff. That's you know relationship. That's massive.
I bet, man. Like, and you've had quite some chaos happen in your younger days, where you were struggling with alcohol and, uh, if I'm not mistaken, abused by your own mother.
Uh, there's been some a lot of speculation about that kind of stuff. There's a lot of articles. I don't know if they're all true or not on the internet. Some people say things that aren't accurate, but there was alcohol issues, and then my mother and I have definitely had a very vivid relationship and history. We are cordial and on good terms,
Oh, now.
but yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. I was kind of like surfing a little bit and trying to, research you a little bit, and, oh, surprise, surprise, the media blows fucking shit out of proportion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like they made it sound like you were being like almost beaten by your mother and shit, which I
Yeah,
doubt. Man.
they do that. They have a way of kind of adjusting words or configuring things to cause maximum damage and crisis and stuff like that. They love to do that.
Sure.
Um, there's even some stories on the internet where the information is completely false about criminology and stuff like that. And they the issue that happened with me with the alcohol was because I've studied a lot about medicine. I mean, I've done thousands of hours of like therapy and just updates on my mind with all kinds of different things, but um, all things medical and scientific. But you know, it's pretty crazy. Like yeah, there's a lot of things that we can do for our wellness that'll really bring things to the next level, especially memory. Like I've been doing a lot for my memory with methylfolate. That's the folic acid that's been methylated, and of course the methylcyanocobalamin, the B12 methylated. It just absorbed better. Um, and then I did a lot of like neurofeedback, which I thought was amazing to see how our thoughts look on screen to watch thought kind of like paint. That's what they call it. It was something mind paint or something, but watching your thoughts kind of paint imagery on a screen was interesting. Seeing the shapes and stuff and how floral the mind is in many ways. It's a trip.
And it paints a picture for the viewer as well, right? Instead of you just being like, hey, blah 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 blah. You put more color into it, kind of like a
Yeah,
painting.
and it's neurofeedback's interesting. I think the people can pay for it with insurance still, but they can do anything with it. I mean, even like if you're trying to enhance energy or someone's fighting a depression or a funk or something, just looking at that screen delivers actual medical therapeutic benefits, which is just I've never seen anything like it, and it makes sense now why people pay $5,000 to do that out of pocket. But I mean, the insurance has to happen.
Yeah,
But,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, dude. When did you start? Because I do believe that you've researched the occult and things like that,
Yeah.
esoteric knowledge. When did you start getting into that?
So I got into that kind of around 15 is when I started reading the stuff. When I was a child, though, like true, like single digit, like an 8-year-old, something. I was definitely into that stuff just naturally. But I didn't know the terminology, much like with music, where I had to learn musical terminology and stuff. And I would say I've been reading up on that now. It's been 18 years almost. Um, and I've been into different um, types of mysticism for a very long time. I think that's what I lead with in a way, um, to the point to where the label put that I deal with madness and mysticism. Just, I like it.
Well, you certainly show it within, like Eyes of Noctum and stuff like that. Like it kind of you kind of portray that darker side, even with the wolf, right? But like my thing with metal, like I've always been I'm a huge metal guy, right?
Yeah,
And I've always felt like pop music was more quote unquote satanic than metal music because metal music is more about like self-empowerment and a lot of it has to do with love and like treating others with respect. Some of it is a little bit more harsh, uh but yeah, and then you get the pop side of it where it's all like money, bitches, and cars and all the materialistic shit, right? What are your thoughts on that?
well, I think that the intentions are very different, and someone's intentions show. Um, with the pop side, I see what you're saying about you know it being more diabolical in many ways, um, because it's what's popular right now is unfortunate. There's a lot of lyrical content today that's going to damage, um, I think, the global progress and intelligence that we need. We need to elevate as a species more, and I'm even thinking about having months where there's like global connection and sense of community month where all people have to kind of celebrate like acts of kindness and stuff to even get there. But these lyrics, man, some pop and rap songs that just like it's making people start to become intrigued and fascinated with the wrong things.
Mhm.
No honor, no family, no love. There's nothing that's spoken about that, especially love. It's all this carnal sexuality that has it's meaningless. Which I definitely, when I was younger, I was into some extreme carnality and debauchery and stuff, but never the stuff that they're suggesting.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. What are some of your wildest stories, like getting into trouble, or have you been in trouble with the law at all?
I used to when I was a kid. There were a lot of California, and I have had that colorful past, but so many beautiful moments too. But I mean, when I was a kid, um, I think maybe the opera training that I had, or the how loud I can be, heck, has gotten me in trouble with if there's like an argument or something. Back when I was younger, when I was 18 or in my early 20s, you could just hear the metal and then the like opera training and all that, the background come out of my voice. And I didn't mean for it to be so loud, but it gets like the whole room to turn and security starts walking in. Back when I was a kid, I had to learn how to operate differently. Also, you know, I stand at around 6'3", and sometimes my weights go up and down like 211. I was the one that you like is I was gigantic when it comes to like muscle for that movie, because I was trying to portray a guy who really was that guy was a terrifying man that I played Luke in
Oh,
211,
yep.
the real one. He military trained, I believe, Romanian American, which was easy for me to do because it's Romanian culture is so similar. Of course, being Rome, like part of Rome with Italian, Albanian, and you know, it's that kind of got that Greek as well with the Balkan area. But yeah, he was an American or Romanian American ex-military personnel. The man, like his friends, they're all addicted to muscle relaxers, um, and they would sting themselves purposefully with an all intent. They would deliberately take their pet scorpions out of the container, out of the containers, and they would allow themselves to be stung by them to psych themselves up, and then they all their unresolved PTSD plus 3,000 rounds of ammunition. They were annihilating the police for ages in North Hollywood, to the point where now LAPD can ask any gun shop or any ammo shop, you know, I need ammunition now, and with free of charge, they'll have to provide it with no transactions because of this. It was brutal. I mean, it's always unfortunate when you hear about stuff like that happening. Unresolved PTSD, I think, is the at the root of even some of the worst dictators. But one of the craziest stories, some of the craziest stuff, you know, ever is some of the things I've been through while traveling, um, where I've been to certain countries where they think that they're, and I always respect traditions, and I'm always respectful when I travel, but when someone isn't respecting the universal law, which even the government can do, and they're not expecting the law of the universe of goodness and protecting innocence, and you know, being elevated, when they're not respecting that, that's another story. You know, it gets crazy. But I remember one time in one of the craziest stories I have is in Hawaii. I had some friends that at first they wouldn't leave me alone with they wanted to fight me constantly at night. That was their way of, and that was what they were doing. All I was doing was drinking like some Steinlagers and smoking some Black and Milds. I was like 17, 18, and these guys were cool, but they all did jujitsu and stuff, and I guess they wanted to spar, but I don't know if they were serious about how full contact. And I knew the group was gonna try to beat me up if I said no, and they were gonna do something, because I've been going to Hawaii back and forth since I was a kid, and the guys wouldn't let me stop uh, being harassed and like all these questions until I wrestled one of them, and the guy was great. He was a jiu-jitsu coach. Uh, he was so in love, and he adored martial arts so much that when I had him mid-air, when I was doing the double leg takedown, when we finally wrestled, he managed to tell his friends. He goes, "That's a real Roman Greco wrestler." So I love how he makes a comment about Greco-Roman and the perfectly executed takedown as we're going to the ground to his friends, his coach, and then we're in some grapple, and he was telling me to finish submissions, and I was like, "No, I'm not finishing a submission. We're getting up. This is it, man." And then I've seen them every time I've been to Hawaii now, I see those guys and they're growing up and all teaching surfing lessons, smoking powerful marijuana on the beach.
Sounds like the
And
good life, man.
yeah, they wake up at like 6, sometimes 4 a.m. Uh, they start surfing, those guys, and they're awesome. They're diverse, multicultural. They all get along, and I guess the only thing that worried me is when at first is when I didn't know what the nature of them asking me to do the Greco-Roman wrestling stuff was that night, because it's 3 a.m. So I'm like, what's gonna happen? But yeah,
That's
so
hilarious.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great martial artists in Hawaii, so it made sense why I was there. My last fight was 2018. It was professional. Um, you know, we did something with Mr. Olympia in Vegas, where Mr. Olympia showed all their athletes, amazing men and women and beyond, and we did some martial arts demonstrations within a couple rings. So we shared the ring with the boxing group. We were the wrestling and Russian martial arts kind of network. And then there was one with kickboxers that was fascinating. I wanted to get in that ring, but I didn't have time. But my friend Shuprat was about to jump in there from Uzbekistan. He's like, 1 minute, brother. I'll take out any one of these guys just in 1 minute. I'm like, I love you, man. We just fought. We're good. Let's watch. He's a genius martial artist.
Sweet, dude. How long have you been training? Like, in which particular martial arts?
So now it's crazy to say that it's been 3 years, 30 years. Sorry, not 3 years. That'd be crazy. It's been 30 years. And it's so crazy. It makes me feel old. I started off with Korean martial arts, three types: Hapkido, Taekwondo, just for flexibility. As I got older, I moved on to Judo, Sambo, boxing, and kickboxing. And then with the, kind of the work with the lower body, with the kickboxing and martial arts, with the kicking stuff, I stayed with Muay Thai and Kyokushin. Kyokushin Kaikon is an outstanding martial art, I think. And then I worked with Hoist Gracie as my coach at first with jiu-jitsu, and then after I competed with wrestling and potentially we were talking about getting me to the Olympics, I had to go to Iowa and train. I actually wrestled with an incredible freestyle champion from Canada when I was in Iowa, because they were we had both Canadians and Americans in the school, but in camp. But yeah, man. So it's been like 33 years now, and then I had something happen to me with when a personal manager, they think it's a personal trainer, the media, they were lying about that. I was attacked by a personal manager. So because I was unable to defend myself and kicks in the groin area, that led me to doing pure military style self-defense just for 10 years straight. And Krav Maga is in that, but I've been doing more so Armia Rukopashny Boy, the Russian hand-to-hand combat, which there's no way to really train that stuff. There's a way to train it, but you just can't go full contact with no like protection on the eyes and stuff, because they hook, they do the socket grabbing and stuff, which is
Damn.
yeah.
No thanks. I
Yeah,
don't like any shit going into my eyes, dude. Like I can't even put eye drops in because I get all
same.
like I'm just like like I freak out. I can't do
The
it.
eye, it's good to have that fear, because that protects us so much. Luckily the eye heals, and I had eye damage from a sweat lodge, and it heals. The eye heals, I think it's in every 30 minutes or something, but I didn't know that. But eye damage freaks me out. I'm very, very strict with it whenever I coach in California. Um, some people aren't. If I see dirty fingernails that are
Oh,
long and anyone poking
gross.
eyes, I'll kick them out after they keep doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
I I know sometimes
You'll
it's
get
an act.
ringworm from that shit too if they scratch you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and ringworm is a huge problem for us. There, we we have to sanitize the mats constantly, and some people don't. And after a couple of days, things start to ferment and germinate, and you will have someone get that on their. They used to get so mad at the refs when they would turn us around and check our fingernails and check our chins for stubble that can burn someone. But most importantly, the fingernails on the back. And when a guy got ringworm or something, they would be like, "You're done, man," and then he would freak
Yeah.
out. You know,
I was telling you in DMs about that autistic kid that made me
Yeah.
laugh a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's taking jujitsu now, and
Absolutely.
he ended up getting ringworm because like he was telling me like these kids have fucking like dirty fingernails and they scratch you, and then he
Yeah.
showed me his chest. I'm like, holy shit, man,
It's no joke. It's
it's no joke.
bad. I mean, and the worst too is just when that or like an accidental injury where everyone has to cater immediately to the student to make sure everything's okay. Like I know that happens a lot when we're doing a takedown, like I did on the beach with that guy. The double leg takedowns or any high altitude takedown, the I guess recipient of that throw forgetting to move their knee, or if the knee just doesn't move, and then the person that throws it gets a knee to the forehead, even though it's almost impossible. It's hard to knock someone out with forehead, but when it's the knee, it just I've seen some people black out or white out or see stars from that stuff or get the smelling rubber, like burning rubber, like a concussion
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Fuck, man.
I when that happened once, I had to stay up and Facebook a guy. I saw he had kids too, so I was like, "There's no way I'm letting that guy sleep after getting hit
Right,
like
right.
that."
Keep them up, yeah.
Yeah, so
I had
I
a
just kept
scare.
all day.
I
Yeah,
had a scare myself when I was probably about 15 or 16. I was at my friend's place. It was winter. We were playing ice hockey on the street, like just street hockey, right? And we're in a break, and from like 20 feet away, I hear my Polish friend Damien. All of a sudden, he says, "Dude, look out!" I look up, and there's this fucking ice chunk headed my way. He slap shotted it, and it nailed me right in
yeah.
the left eye.
Oh, fuck.
Dude, it was so bad. I ran. I was like, "Oh!" And everybody was laughing because it looked funny. But I was pissed off. I'm like, so fucking funny, dude. I ran to my buddy's bathroom in his house. I looked in the mirror, and my eye had like a scratch on it on the white part and it was bleeding. And when I could see like a blacker than black patch when I closed my eye. And when I opened it, I could see it like a dark spot. So I was like terrified I was going blind, right? I ended up going to the hospital and they put like a some kind of solution in there to see where the scratches were, so it turned
Yeah,
neon green. And then he's like, "No, you're fine. You're gonna be okay." And I said, "Doc, I see this blacker than black spot. I'm scared I'm gonna fucking go blind." He's like, "Don't worry, it's just the trauma that you received from the impact." He's like, "Your cornea isn't scratched, so you're gonna be good, right?" And he put this cream in my eye and put a patch on it, and I had to stay home for like a week. It was like the pain was like it felt like constantly something was in my eye, and it would take all my power to not like move it or like scratch it, right? But yeah, I was fine after a week or two.
thank God. It gets horrific. Some of the eye injuries freak me out more than anything as well. Seeing a black spot or something like that's no good. I've had something like that happen to me, and I just I know that solution you're talking about. When I had a cut on my eye from an iPhone accident, when I got scratched from there's a shattered screen and a little bit of a granule of the iPhone
Oh,
screen went like this, and it cut my eye. And they it was hilarious. One of the people there were hilarious. This nurse was laughing at me for being so concerned. She was like this really like tough uh, and like calculated Ukrainian nurse that she was laughing at me out. And I speak a little Ukrainian dialect and Russian back and forth. So I was like, oh, I was like, well, what are you laughing at? I'm like, it is normal for a guy or anyone to be a girl to be worried about a laceration on the eye. I was like,
sure.
I didn't know it takes 30 minutes only for the eye to start healing. Uh, but she's laughing at me, and I'm like, "Why? You're crazy for laughing at me for thinking an eye injury is so nonchalant, man." Like,
Right.
she was like, "Ha,
But
ha,
she's
ha,
seen it
ha."
all, right? So she's
I
probably
was
like,
like,
"Don't be pussy, Weston."
"Yeah, it was tough as nails for sure." Oh my god, yeah. I didn't want. I was like, "Извините." I never asked her. I was like, Why are you laughing?" And then she was like, "The eye will heal." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I was like, "It's at least it's not malicious or something, because she knows it's gonna heal, so she's laughing." But
Right. Yeah, she's probably just like, "Don't be a pussy, man. It's gonna
yeah,
heal." Going
exactly.
back to occult kind of stuff a little bit, because
Yeah.
that's what I talk a lot about on here. But um, you said you were celebrating like the equinox.
Yeah,
What kind of things do you, is there some kind of rituals you do or any kind of thing that you do to celebrate it? Get into detail with that. I'm interested.
yeah. There's still some rituals going on today, even. So I do celebrate the vernal equinox, all equinoxes. So spring holidays, be it the ones that my fiance and I both celebrate. We have very similar backgrounds in film and also our heritage. We like same area. Like I spent a lot of time in Corfu when I was younger, and it's very close to where we are. But um, yeah, we're doing. So I of course start every day with like in setting an intention and a ritual, just to remember my days like that. But I also do. I celebrate the Easter from a from mysticism, a mystical standpoint. Not fundamental stuff too much. I'm more spiritual than religious, but I do have some religious things that I do where I'm practicing things constantly. But um, we're going to be celebrating, of course, all things life and rejuvenation, resurrection, that kind of energy, genesis and rebirth. Uh, so, of course, there are some eggs made of certain things like lapis. I gave my little sister some gifts as well. We got to it was cool. We got to see everyone got to see each other for a moment there for a little dinner. Um, but I'm going to be doing a lot of fasting as well. Uh, Fasting is one of the things I do the most during my any kind of worship or situation like that.
It
So
detoxifies the body and clears the mind and all that kind of stuff. I've done like
yeah,
a couple 5-day water fasts, man. It's not
amazing.
easy. It's not
No,
easy, man.
no,
It takes a lot of, for me, it took a lot of prayer to like, get the will in check to not eat anything. I would just chew gum to like, so I get that shitty tinny taste out of the mouth, When you're fasting, you kind of get that craving for something. So gum it is, right? Or water.
yeah,
And yeah, that's all it was.
that's an amazing method and prayer. That's what I think. That's what the meaning of it is to There's many reasons why we can fast, of course, but to fill ourselves with divine energy while we are no longer needing to cater to ourselves in the sense of eating
Yeah.
constantly, and how many times people just grab something to eat it to just switch modes or to even just because I want to taste it. um it can switch things up a lot. It's the water fasting's outstanding. um I do the extended water fasting too. um Sometimes I'll use electrolyte drops in case if there's any weird heart rate stuff. I like to check heart rates and blood pressures always. But if there's anyone having a weird moment with like it being bradycardia or tachycardia, something like that, we get the tincture of the just pure electrolytes. Some people they drink these sugary, not sugary necessarily, but they'll drink electrolyte drinks, and I'm like, it's not necessarily fasting; it's more cleansing.
Right.
Um, so it's hard to do the full blown real deal, but you know, I use that constantly with my wrestling background and my background with acting, especially Hollywood areas and all that. That all combined, that and some work with dietitians, psychologists. I love wellness, all that stuff. That's turned me into a guy that can really, I can do dramatic weight loss and weight gain, but in a short amount of time. But I think I'm going to stay. The lowest would be I'm going to go 230 to 200 for just forever. I'm not never going to go back up to what I've done before when I had to, I mean, I was strong as terrifyingly strong, but when I was up at 320 and stuff, that could never happen again for me.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
think I noticed you in 211. You looked huge.
yeah, I
Even
was
like
too,
the pants you were wearing too. I was like, holy fuck, man.
yeah, I was at my when I was benching my maximum too. Um, because we were in Bulgaria, so I would go to the gym and that was back when I could do like 450 and stuff like that with benching. Now it's nowhere near that. I don't even like to do 245 anymore sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. I found it kind of I laughed in 211 when you were trying to snipe your dad while he's getting the thing out of the truck.
Those scenes were intense. Like him and I too, our off-screen improv was amazing when like he's playing a cop, of course, with some other actors, and they're driving, and then I'm still in character, he's still in character, and I'm like, you guys get paid more than us, and I'm dressed as military. So it like start that argument that I've heard so many times where cops and military always like arguing with each other about financial stuff. It's amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was a great movie. I also reached out to York Shackleton and
Oh,
I complimented him on his great work and told him I was interviewing you. And he said, I really appreciate it and I hope the interview goes well. So that was cool.
oh, amazing. York's an incredible person.
Yeah, he's fucking awesome, man. He gets criticized pretty good, but like whatever. Like everybody does what they do,
Yeah,
like nothing's like art doesn't have to be perfect, right? And that's like when I see somebody, excuse me, criticizing a movie and like on IMDb, it's like 3 point something out of 10 or whatever. It's my comeback is often, okay, well, you make a better film.
yeah, it's the best comebacks.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of those people can like they you know some people they'll criticize it tremendously, but they don't know how to take action with those things.
Absolutely, yeah, and even D-Day, like I was looking at all the reviews, and there were like vets on there saying, "Oh, their patches are sewn on wrong, and people don't have that many stars unless whatever." Like they're just like totally bashing it. So that makes it a terrible movie, right? You can't
Right.
just sit and enjoy it for what it is.
Ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, those people don't really know how to enjoy anything or art truly.
Or they, they're spoiled by things like blockbuster movies like Saving Private Ryan, for example. And like, just because that movie is what it is, you can't have anything below that. Otherwise it's shit, right?
Yeah, that movie too.
Same thing with me, same thing with anything in the art world or entertainment industry. I've always been a fan of, lower budget films and like horror movies. Like I just have fun watching them. And then I go on IMDb and look it up and I'm like, holy shit, it only got 4? Fuck that, I'm giving it an 8,
Yeah, it happens, and you can do so much, for the reasonable budgets now. And frugality has been a thing right now. People are so frugal sometimes where they won't even provide a budget for the greatest, the most elite of all directors right now. There's a lot of that, and it's some of the movies that are done for a smaller budget, more linear, simple, but great story. Those are powerful. You didn't go far.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
There was we were discussing George Romero the other day in DMs, and so apparently he wasn't able to make you know uh his epic masterpiece that he had planned to make. So apparently his family is getting budgeted to make this final movie that he wanted to make. So I hope that turns out good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's a genius. I love all Romero's work, um, and just the conceptualization in that. Um, I mean, I like engaging in this stuff and then reading on my esoterica and doing some potent exercises that's life for me. That, and as long as love as long as we lead with our divinity and love, it took me a long time to find my soulmate. It took me a very long time. I always wanted to find my true love when I was a kid, like that, and art was everything, and art and children came first, and finally I found my soulmate through my art. I met my fiance on production when we were doing the movie Mojave Diamonds with the Seafock Bar and Rampage Jackson's Cowboy Cerrone. That was epic. Chael Sonnen, that was awesome.
Right.
That movie it really is like a diamond for me because Mojave Diamonds. I remember looking at loving that title, and then I started feeling just tremendous love immediately, even via even through text. I just was extra accommodating to my fiance when she was doing costumes for that. I out of love, I was like, I could stop while we're driving to get you my shoe size, since we don't have that for my boots. And she's like, no, don't worry, I'll get it. You know, beyond professional, she can dissect the script in ways that I can't even imagine. Just the calculation involved with that is the script breakdown stuff. It's amazing, and we've been writing scripts together, but we've been working ever since. And that's yeah, man, it took me a while. That sweat lodge. Speaking of eye injuries, sweat lodge was so hot that I got an injury to my eye.
Fuck.
Yeah, it was insane. That was so hot. But it we did a ritual before with tobacco where you put it in the flame and do the prayer. And I asked for to be exactly who I'm meant to be. And I asked to live the life that I'm exactly meant for, and to live the exact path I'm meant for. And immediately, I met Ermelinda, and then all these people started slowly to fade away. You know,
That's wild, dude. And
yeah,
to have like a loving relationship with somebody that you're working with too, like that's almost
never,
unheard of.
I
You know,
never truly had it before. You know, and she's really truly high caliber artist. I mean, we started speaking Greek when we first met, because my fiance grew up in Athens. Um, just we were, and she's multilingual, beyond multilingual, like a polyglot. The Spanish speaking I should get better at on her level and her brother's level, all three of her brothers, just because, you know, California, it's nonsense to not be practicing Spanish when,
sure.
especially when you're, yeah, I mean, especially my friends, they live so far south. Some guitarists I know, their family, they go all the way into Mexico all the time, just because of Mexicali, Tijuana being so close. I've always wanted to do Tijuana tour, all those metal bands that do that, but I haven't done it yet.
Your main passion, I believe, is music, correct?
They're both equal for me, the music and acting.
Okay.
Yeah, I because it always comes from the same place for me. Um, Especially when I have to like do ADR and stuff, or, you know, do sound work if I'm composing for a film or doing voice work. Um, I did a lot of voice work for Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, when my father would transform into the Ghost Rider character. Uh, so that was a cool recording. And then I just recently put some music into some films with some fellow filmmakers with my fiance and I. So that track's called Shindig, and that's going to be in a movie. It was initially made for. It was initially made. It was made in 2015 for another film, and it didn't get used, and it wasn't utilized. So I still have this powerful track with an 8-string guitar, which I normally play, and 6-string bass, and all Schecter, very wonderful equipment, of course, and all my proper, you know, mics and everything I needed. And we got that great track, and it finally found its home in a movie called Crescent City,
That's awesome.
or in a movie, sorry, a movie called
It's terribly windy up here, so sometimes the windows are shaking. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Horrible, man. Jesus.
I did one song for a film called Crescent City and one song for a film called Boneyard, which I acted in, so I got mixed up. But yeah, the wind's been terrible here too.
Is it warm?
Yeah, at least warm.
Yeah, not
But
here.
I can imagine. Yeah, it'd be like Norway.
Pretty
Norway
much,
is
yeah.
the most intense cold I've ever felt. I remember I literally, when I was 18, I smoked a lot of cigarettes. Like, I was a huge tobacco guy, and um, going outside, even drunk in a warm house, going outside to smoke a cigarette, it wasn't possible for me one time. It was so cold. I couldn't do it. And I've never felt that before, to
Yeah.
where it like penetrated the bone almost. I just like walked back inside.
That
It
shit'll
was,
make you quit.
yes. Yeah.
It's like when
I
I
love,
used to be a non-smoker. And then I would like make fun of people for going out in the rain and in the cold. I'm like, what are you guys fucking dumb? But now I know, I understand
Yeah.
what it's like, right?
Yeah.
What do you think's going to happen on April 8th?
Well, you
A
know,
lot of us, a lot of us podcasters have been talking about it lately. For me, it's just like, it's just another eclipse. But
yeah, I think that's the same with me. It's another eclipse. I've seen different numbers on how long I think it's going to be for. Um, I don't think anything drastic will happen. I know that depending on a solar or lunar eclipse, it can affect people with abandonment issues. A lot of men with abandonment on a
okay,
solar eclipse could have a second of that coming out. Uh, I don't know how that's going to work though for the duration it is. It's not. I have some friends that believe it's going to be an apocalypse, and I'm like, you guys, it's not.
no,
Yeah,
no.
it's
People have been speaking about the end of the world for thousands of years, and it's never happened. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
ridiculous.
It's crazy.
I'm more
I've
worried
heard it
about.
all though, man. I've heard it all from you know, people unlocking their supposed junk DNA and turning into superheroes. I've heard you know, a zombie thing happen, like a zombie thing's gonna happen. People that have been injected with the mRNA are gonna turn into zombies. This and that. You know, it's crazy. I love it.
What if
I love those theories though. They're fucking fun.
they're epic for sure? They're interesting. Zombie apocalypse would be interesting. I did notice the government really does have some kind of document, something quadruple eight. What is that? Um,
I'm not sure about the document, but on this, I think it's the CDC website. There's like a zombie apocalypse preparedness manual or something.
yeah,
So that's kind of fucking freaky.
it is. I think it can happen with drugs. Honestly, I think if there are certain drugs that can be misused, that's why I don't like when people are like, oh, he's a drug abuser. It's like, well, you don't know if it's abuses his intention. He could be misusing it, or she.
Sure.
You don't know, but misuse. Some people can misuse things that we don't have much awareness about, chemical wise, especially this newer drugs and or I guess the new drug movement, or also like just any kind of substance that we don't know about. People could turn into psychologically. I've seen some people especially in Los Angeles, in the more unsafe areas at night at like 3 in the morning. You can see um, people who are spiritually occupied by something. I mean,
Right.
that's my graceful way of saying possessed, basically. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could,
Oh, absolutely.
I've seen some people where I'm like, okay, this person's not here anymore, and that's why I stopped drinking, so I could always be a guy that could protect everyone. Like they always say, to harm a drunk or to harm someone that's like psychotic is to harm someone that isn't there, and
Hmm.
it's a true statement. That's why you know, I've also been trained in how to restrain people and non-lethal, like non-violent stuff with martial arts, where I could even make sure I do like third-party defense, protect another person, or make sure that there is no violence or blood drawing, or no one gets hit, like no one throws anything. I've had to do that once. A woman punched me in the face 15 times that was being abused by her alleged boyfriend. That's nothing near a boyfriend, the guy that does that. But then he also started attacking their dog and stuff. It was crazy. But I broke the
Jesus.
fight up with friends, and she socked me in the face about gave me a good 15 shots, and all I did was I have quite a chin from all the wrestling. It's weird. The strong neck made me have a good knockout defense. But when she would hit me, I just kept asking her, "Are you happy with him? Are you happy with him?" That's all I kept saying to try to get her to realize. You remember what he did a minute ago, and why my friends and I jumped out of the car, because
Right.
we saw her get slapped, and then the pet got slapped. So we're gonna get out of the car. Well, you know,
Yeah. Crazy, man. Yeah,
yeah,
that one
LA.
post that I put up on Instagram that you that you liked, it was like just because you've been hurt does not give you the right to hurt anybody else, right?
Beyond true.
Yeah. It's
It's
just
it's
like
so
I post things like that when I get philosophical in my mind and I just have to get a thought out. So I just post a little quote, right? That comes from my own mind.
yeah, absolutely, and it's true that kind of trauma and unresolved issue, it's not okay to make that an issue for someone else and to take out pain on someone, and to, and sometimes we don't know who's in pain. They're quiet about it, they're secret. It could be someone in a very, very impactful position of power that could just start. I mean, that's how people torture each other.
Yeah.
Weird. That's disgusting.
It
I hate
doesn't it doesn't
cruelty.
have to be physical either. It could be like just debasing somebody based on emotions, like you're a piece of shit or whatever, right? It's like
Yeah,
what's inside of you that's causing you to call me a piece of shit, like fuck
yeah.
off.
It's it really is. It's interesting following intent like that. The intention, and it's weird if when you see someone being mean, really trying to understand what their intention is. Like, is it a playful thing? Is it teasing, or what the ancient Greeks call ludus? That kind of like teasing energy, or what kind of love is it? Hopefully, it's love. If it's not, if it's hate, then we try to diffuse it. I believe in verbal judo, or verbal martial arts. The attempts that have been done, I think it does work. Some of that stuff where you can switch energy, or kind of disarm someone verbally before it even turns into something, which I've had to do. And I almost played a negotiator for the FBI in a movie, and I wish that happened, because the kind of improv and scenes you can get into with a character where you can see a part of good, a little bit of good in someone, like you're telling someone not to jump off of a building, the person's crazy and being mean, but then like you finally hit the good in them and they've switched, like flipping on a light switch to the side that is benevolence and honor, like something like that. I've wanted to play this character.
It's like they say the pen is mightier than the sword, right? Like you can completely dispel a huge conflict with just words, man.
Yeah,
It's and when it comes down to the words not working, then I guess that's when you pull out the sword, right? But I don't know, man. Like, what are your thoughts on like this whole fucking thing going on in uh Israel and Gaza right now? What are your thoughts on that? Because I just think it's absolutely fucking horrible, obviously. But like, does it really have to be happening? Especially because of like some ancient book says that you're the chosen people of God, Like that's fucked up.
it's horrific, and it's something that should have been resolved in many different ways thousands of years ago. I can't believe it's still happening, and I hope that humanity reaches a state of consciousness one day to where we won't have to worry about warfare anymore, and we can just have armies for other reasons. But because I think protection's paramount and number one. But West Asia is a part of the world that I think will always have this crusades going on. I don't know if the crusades will ever end, and it's something that concerns me. I think there needs to be some more Abrahamic fusion going on, where we start looking at the origin of certain words like shalom and salam,
Mhm.
coming from Selim, from the Mesopotamians. That I believe Selim is the Sumerian word. Yeah, Selim, Kimurangans. I read Sumerian just for my own music stuff. I know there's not many living people that speak it, but um, living amongst humans, that is. But yeah, it would be nice for them to integrate more, and look at the root of the word Selim, Shalom, Salom, just meaning Shalom, meaning peace.
Yeah.
You know, it's
It's like just because you're a Muslim and you say salam alaikum doesn't mean I can't say shalom if I'm in Judaism, right? Like
and vice
it's all
versa.
the
Exactly.
same. It's all the same shit, but we seem to be battling over like who God is and all what kind of religion you should be following, and that's why I enjoyed your episode with the Chosen One. Shout out. Um,
You're
you
incredible,
were
man.
you refer to God as source, like creator, and that's how I feel as well.
It's
I feel it's
source.
just a more simplified way of explaining who God is without having a book in front of me telling me who he is, right?
Yeah, it's more like with the animism and belief in spirit. I've seen some countries, even Kyrgyzstan, for example. Kyrgyzstan, I don't know if it was in Bishkek or whereabouts in Central Asia this was, but they've resurrected Tengriism and their old Turkic Mongolian kind of pagan faith with Tengri worship, while utilizing their their style of Islam. And I thought that was amazing for a country to bring back both the old and the new, and to accept a great future and relationships with China and Russia, and they're not against America.
Mhm.
That's a country, and they're the foliage in those countries, I've noticed, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, it's such a beautiful and powerful terrain. It's just incredible. It reminds me, it's the Silk Road. I mean, and Israel has its ties in that, and I there's so many cool things people could be focused on instead of this constant warfare. Now it's turning into that. There's even some stuff in just books that I read. There's rules of warfare that are being broken, and it's amazing to see that happen in 2024. It's interesting.
Yeah, they're just constantly committing war crimes
Yeah,
and genocide.
yeah, man. I'm concerned that this conflict, plus what's happening in Europe with Ukraine and Russia, plus
Mhm.
Azerbaijan and Armenia. So it's like two battles in West Asia, one in Europe. I hope that doesn't start a third world war. Um, I really hope, because I know that war would be a war that really could threaten us as a species, which would be an interesting thing psychologically for the people who are prejudiced and, you know, uh, excluding people based off religion and stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be
It's,
different.
the crazy thing for me, Wes, is growing up, uh, even when I was a child, I didn't know what the fuck nuclear war was. I was having vivid dreams of like a nuclear holocaust. And it's like, is that something that's coming, or is it something that is like inevitable, or are the powers that be in charge? Is this what they want? You got to question that too, right? Maybe they
Yeah,
want that to happen for some fucking weird reason. I don't know.
yeah. It's something that I think about too. I'm happy to know that nuclear weapons could be used to protect Mother Earth from comets and like asteroids. I've heard you could use that for defense. But if it's going to be used for any more warfare and testing, nuclear weapons could easily, I think, what does it only take 7 to wipe out the planet or
Pretty
something?
much, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's, and what we got, Russia and America have like upwards of 6,000, 7,000.
Like
So
it's
it's like,
beyond ridiculous. Like you could destroy the planet like 50 times or some stupid shit like that, right? Like
yeah,
it's
man,
just beyond my comprehension. Like, why would we want to stockpile weapons like that? Well, that's what the Cold War was all about. It was stockpiling nuclear weapons to see how many you could get before the other country had, and it's like it's
yeah,
ridiculous.
oh man, it's, I can't wait to see. Like, I hope it doesn't turn into a situation where there'd be like countries going back to that kind of Cold War state where they're yet again starting to flex in other ways, and then like I guess the nukes again. That'd be horrible.
Yeah, for sure. Um, some would argue that we already are in World War III, and it's not a physical battle, but a spiritual one where we're trying to figure out what's valid information and what's misinformation. So it's like the war on the mind or the spirit, right? What do you think about
Yeah.
that?
I think there is truth in that, in some aspects. There's I believe in the next renaissance. I refer to it as, I think we need to awaken humanity in some different ways and start working on spiritual technology and how we could get into nanotechnology and disease eradication. That'd be amazing if we could figure
Yeah,
that out, how to edit the body. And so I know that that's happening in other countries, but um, I think the Third World War is it's interesting sometimes with the relations between superpowers. I watch those carefully, um, just trying to see where they're at. Travel is always nice, I think, because you get to go to these different countries. and
Different perspectives. Yeah.
yeah, and I've had a lot of nice moments in all. I've been to every continent except for Antarctica and South America. Um,
So you haven't
I
been
would,
over the flat Earth ice wall then?
yeah, I would love to. I would love to see it.
That's
That.
one thing in the conspiracy community that I'm agnostic about is the Earth being flat or not. Like, because they do provide very valid arguments for it.
Yeah,
It's very intriguing. But I never invited on like David Weiss, the flat Earth guy, right? I never invited him on because it's just something that I'm just like, you could talk to me and tell me all the information that you know about, but you or I still haven't gone up there and looked down on it, right?
right.
So like to just like take one side and then call the other side an idiot for not believing what you believe is just preposterous for me.
Yeah, even that's happening. That happens constantly. They're doing it with religions now. It's like it like, not to bring any levity or light, to the situation that's going on that needs to be resolved immediately. But it's starting to turn on to this, my God is better than your God situation. They're just like
Yeah,
throwing grenades. It's like, what the fuck are we?
it's that
Are we all
hive
free?
mind cult mentality. It's
Yeah,
I just sit back and watch it happen. I'm like, are you guys for real right now? Like you're calling this guy an idiot because he doesn't believe the earth is flat, and then you're calling the other guy an idiot because he believes the earth is flat, but you both don't fucking know, like for
yep,
sure.
yeah. No, most definitely. It's people, humans don't know how to get through these misconceptions or miscommunication still, or I think there's a lot of issues going on with this communication with humans. It's like we're the most incredible communicators of the, I would say, of the animal kingdom, with these different writing systems and even being able to go to outer space, and there's definitely something different to us than, I think we're here to definitely preserve Mother Earth, and innocence must be protected, and all of the innocence in the world. So I don't know what's going to happen with the future. I do have a script. Speaking of innocence, my dear, hold on, the doggy is wants to go back inside. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Go back in. You know, so such a adorable little English terrier. But yeah, I think the innocence has to be protected, in this world, in all forms, be it animal kingdom or beyond. It's even trees. Some people are just breaking rules. They're gluttonous with certain things, like, and I'm all about the occasional gluttony in a good positive way where you're having some decadence and feasting, but for
Sure.
holidays, but the kind of stuff where people are chopping rainforests in half like they're nothing. It's
Mhm.
yeah, gonna mess with the ecosystem too much. I do want to check out Antarctica just because of the theories that I've heard, and conspiracy theories about spiritual energy down there. Um, I've
Uh,
heard that.
Enlighten me on that. I don't think I've heard about stuff like that.
Well, they believe that there is some kind of. I've heard people talk about dark interdimensional forces that are in Antarctica, and I know that lore exists too. With my one side of the family of mine's from the Scandinavian part of the world, and up in the north, I know there have been claims about things going on, and I don't know if it was in Svalbard or something, with some of the hauntings that are northern Norway, in that area, Arctic Circle stuff, which I know Canada is also connected to. But I don't know. The movie The Thing, of course, had Antarctica, with that haunting on Antarctica, where all the scientists were dealing with it. But I do think there really is. I've
One of
heard
my
about.
favorite movies of all time.
Me too. Uh, yeah, I love that movie. It's an incredible movie. I've heard about potentially interdimensional beings. People really fervently believe that there are alien forces down there that cause disappearances. I don't know about that, but I know that
That's,
there's a lot of, yeah,
I mean, John Carpenter might have known something, right?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Did you see the sequel or it was the prequel with the Norwegians?
yeah, I did. That was
Yeah.
amazing.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, the
Back then, the practical makeup effects were, in my opinion, way beyond CGI, man.
yes, they were very much so. Practical effects is incredible where they can go with some of that. Even the practical effects in Enemy Mine, that movie.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, that scene where the guy's getting his leg attacked by that giant insect stayed in my mind since I was a child. I never been
yeah.
able to burn that scene out of my memory. It's
And
so
the
freaking
thing where the guy's Norris's, I think it was Norris's head, sprouts the spider legs and it starts taking off, and Kurt Russell's like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me!"
yeah, it's amazing.
uh,
That was great, that movie.
what are some of your favorite bands that influenced you musically?
Well, I would say System of a Down made me want to become professional and actually pursue that along with Rammstein. But the black metal bands, both underground, different waves of it, and extreme metal bands in general, that those are the ones that got me on tour for sure with Eyes of Noctum. And me and the guitarist Jesse have Eyes of Noctum. We've spoken about potentially releasing that second album, maybe with it. I don't know if it's maybe an animation or it would have to be a horrific horror film,
Mm.
but beyond horrific, the kind that people would still be thinking about for months. Like,
What are some of the kind of themes in there?
well, it we got psychological, which I don't know if it was a good idea or a bad one. We started getting into psychology and neuropsychiatric terminology, which I got really big, what I got really into. But kind of a we created a black metal album that gets into neuropsychology and darkness, and it just psychology in the mind and hallucination and stuff. It was very, very frightening about three individuals that have to find their way through the same situation. And the album's called Narcoma, and with a reference to the drug-induced comas. It's talking about where the mind can go and what the mind is, and two of the characters don't make it, and one does only. They all handle it differently. One guy loses his mind, one guy stays through it, one guy kind of and that's it. Yeah, it's like one guy. It's one of the darkest things I've ever made. Unfortunately, the band broke up directly after. Uh, Even the engineer went through stuff that was terrible. Uh, so there was a huge shift. So I left that and went directly into West Cage,
Mhm.
where I worked with the same engineer, and he produced that record. But Prehistoric Technology was the first ghost metal record, which some people were trying to say that it will never happen. Ghost metal is so funny because I could literally make like a 12-hour, like kind of a collection altogether where I'm talking about how to make ghost metal tracks so anybody could do it. It's to kind of make that genre become more than just me. I think it's a subgenre of the gothic rock slash new age and metal genre. My first musical love was Enya. So
Oh no way!
yeah, so I'm Enya, Enigma, and Buddha Bar. I have that background with the kind of when people are like, "Oh, you do industrial," I'm like, "Yeah, industrial," but I'm like, it's both. It's the Nine Inch Nails style industrial and the Enigma style, or that band from Romania, Enigma. It's like Buddha Bar and all that 1990s new age uh, sound that I believe in all that stuff.
Very angelic vocals kind of thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's why with ghost metal, I always say like I'm always like, it's holy ghost metal, and I always use that as an exclamation, holy ghost metal. But I tell them that's what it is. It's about the divine. It's not the ghost metal as in like we're. And when I say that, I've said it's a genre that induces the chills. If it doesn't, the riff doesn't give you the chills, or someone else, then we don't use it. We don't scratch it. We will scratch
Yeah.
it, but we basically what I do with a lot of my music is I use the 8-string or 7-string guitars, 5 strings and 6-string basses, plus piano, plus synthesizers that are going even lower than that. So when we have that grand performance, and I use no vocal backing tracks, but the backing tracks for the industrial and the symphonic stuff, when that comes through the audience, that gets people very connected. That's why my dad and I were laughing at one show, and I'm like, the whole show is on this little thing, and it's this tiny little USB, and I'm playing this gigantic show in Vegas with, it was epic.
That's awesome. So some of those bands that you mentioned, well, not really bands, well, Enya, Buddha Bar, stuff like that. Are you familiar with Delirium as well?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, okay. They were big for me back in the 90s.
Absolutely, they're incredible. I love
Yeah.
them, and uh, all new age, and then also with the rock and metal, I love White Zombie, Rob Zombie, um, anything from the past, the Slipknot, Horn. I love new metal, and I hope that kind of comes back a little bit more. You know,
Well, some of those
as for
bands are still they're kind of reuniting now. Like Stained got back together too, which is they put out a good record too. It's pretty solid.
absolutely,
Yeah, I used to love new metal too. But I was before that. Like I'm 45 now. I'll be 45 this month actually. But yeah, so growing up, I had three older brothers and a sister. I'm the youngest of five. And like I was very early influenced by what they were listening to. So by the time I actually got to kindergarten, I was listening to like Kiss and Iron Maiden and stuff, and everybody was listening to like Michael Jackson and pop stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck are you guys listening to?
exactly. That's how I felt. I didn't know how to describe it when I was a kid. That I wanted to listen to something heavy, like I wanted to listen to heavy, distorted guitars because I watched the Mortal Kombat scene where Johnny Cage fights
Oh yeah.
Scorpion in hell, and they I don't know what they were tuning, if it was drop D or if it was C, but there's just this power chord that they rung out sustained when they were fighting, and I remember being as a kid, just I was like, yes, that like heavy guitars, what is that? But I didn't know how to ask that. I hated being a kid with not being able to explain like what I wanted or something like that. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
heavy metal guitars, I didn't know it's called that.
Oh man,
But
the Mortal Kombat soundtrack went like from one person to the next because I bought it and my other friend bought it and we were like lending it out to other. Everybody was hooked on that shit because it was both like electronic and metal combined
yeah,
and bands combining to form like oh man, like Fear Factory is one of my all-time favorite bands.
they're incredible.
And they were on there and they were always electronic metal, right? And
Yeah,
they even like most of the thematic representations in their album was like transhumanism and how man is going to eventually merge with machine, right? And
yeah,
I think that's another battle that we're in right now. That people are against. A lot of people are against it because like who's to say that we're not going to be fucking possessed by something if we get like some kind of like let's say Elon Musk's Neuralink, right?
yeah.
And that will connect us to a hive mind kind of thing, and we won't need internet anymore. It's going to be all planted in our brains. Like, what are your thoughts on that shit? That's scary shit to me. If it
Yeah,
goes, because it could go bad, right?
it could go bad, I think. And I think that if we do any kind of, man merges with machine type situation, it has to be done safely, of course. And we got to figure out what belongs in the body, what doesn't, because I don't want to, when things when we start seeing what's incompatible with the body, um,
Right.
it could
Like
go
your
bad.
body would probably reject it because it's a foreign invader, right? Like
Yeah,
so your immune system would automatically be, I guess, compromised. So if they can find a way around that, I guess it could be a good thing. But
yeah,
I just couldn't see the thing as a whole being a beneficial thing for mankind, honestly.
yeah, definitely. Me too. I really believe in it. I think there are certain things we could work with. Um, I hope humans just get better with life extension, period.
Yeah.
Even I know we already are, but with life extension, seeing if we can extend our lives and the lives of certain animals that spiritually wish they could live longer or want to live longer. I guess it'd be nice to see certain dog breeds. That's why I can't get a Great Dane. I want one, but I'm not getting a dog. I can only live 5 years. Then it would drive me nuts. As it would be.
Plus, you get attached to it, you love it, and then all of a sudden it's gone, right? Like, what's the point?
I couldn't do that. I love big dogs. Like I have one that's he was in England, in the 120, 130 pound zone. Schnauzer, and then we still have an amazing dog with us too. That's a husky and German Shepherd combination. We're going to put him in a movie. It has to happen. It almost was in a music video. I have a script 92 pager that I'm going to be editing with some relatives. We're going to turn that into something. And my character's name is Hunter. So we have a dog named Hunter, and there's that character Hunter Hagen. So I was thinking, why not just literally have him in this, and maybe he can have some scenes where he's being like the wolf and taking some bites and kicking some ass or something. Cool.
That'd be awesome. To immortalize your dog, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get into like a little bit of touchy shit here. Have you ever experienced any kind of let's say the dark side of Hollywood? Do you know anybody who's involved with any dark shit like pedophilia or anything like that? Have you experienced anything at all like that?
Luckily, I haven't experienced anything like that. As soon as I hear something redolent of it, that a friend or someone's cited for that, I don't believe everything immediately, because I know that there's a lot of fabrication and falsehood. But I also don't stick around that individual, especially if I see a glimpse of something myself. I won't be around them, because I could get overly protective and get very extreme with how I go about handling
Dealing with
situations.
people like that. Yeah. Like now we got like fucking P. Diddy in the media, like being hit for sex trafficking, dude. And it's just like, holy shit. Like there's so much stuff that's coming to light now, and it's kind of scary, but it's exciting at the same time, I think.
It is, and it's why I believe, especially in the United States, we got to take the Second Amendment seriously and the First Amendment seriously.
Yeah.
Really think about those two, and always make sure that we're protecting our innocence. As soon as someone goes to that route with children, it's just the fact that they don't realize that the damage is going to be eternal.
Yeah.
That's I know that the person could grow to recover, and many have, and many always will.
But it's
But
still trauma. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
I know of guys, of a male, who he got raped very terribly at 13, and then went to prison for 32 years, just as a result of the anger that came from that. So like,
I also know somebody in a similar situation. They didn't go to prison for a lengthy period of time, but they did have a lot of trouble with the law after the anger. Yeah.
anger is
And you
scary.
can
I used
tell,
to
like,
have
when I have a conversation with them, it's just like, I love you, man. There's a lot of fucking baggage you're carrying,
they
but
have to
it's
let
not
go
his
of
fault.
it. Exactly. That's why that meditation of imagining yourself arriving at your destination, with seeing any kind of bags that we're holding on to, and just letting those bags go before we walk into the destination, depending on what's in there, like what we're going to take, what we're going to throw away. It's like
It's
that.
like when Tool, that song, The Grudge, like you wear the grudge like a crown,
Yeah,
right? And you let the negativity just flow through your veins, and you become this dark person. But there is a way out. There is a way to take that crown off and become something greater than what you've been damaged by, I believe.
absolutely. I really believe that completely. That we can rise above it. Uh, you know, I've dealt with a lot of just strange people growing up in LA. Whenever I'd find something out about someone that wasn't good, I'd stay away from them. Like there was a security guard that attacked me when I was only 13, uh, 14, and I was 13. So he attacked me from behind. He tackled me just because I smoked a cigarette in high school, and then the guy proceeded to do a choke on me, a very weak choke. He wasn't a good wrestler or anything like that, but at that time I was not at a level to where I could consider myself someone that could like wrestle at a collegiate level if they wanted to, or go to the Olympics and stuff. But Yeah, there's a lot of people that are terrible with their emotions and how they operate. It's unburied. It all gets unburied, and there's just like some kind of issue with people with this pain that we were referencing earlier, where they take it out on people who they think are beneath them. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Like even like, for example, like if you're working at some kind of a warehouse or something, you're just a regular laborer, and you
yeah,
have this manager or supervisor, even just like one next step up above you, and this guy constantly harasses you because he's belittling you, and he thinks that you're not going to go above his head to claim you're being harassed, right?
yeah,
Because a lot of people, let's face it, in the labor world, they tend to just, they're doing their 9 to 5. They don't want any trouble. They don't want to stand up for themselves, right? But your
yeah,
manager or supervisor will constantly belittle you and harass you. And why? It's like, dude, my my own ideology is that if you're awesome to me, I'm gonna fucking work harder for you. Why would I
yeah.
want to work hard for you if you're being a fucking asshole? You know?
Exactly. That's the truth. Beyond veridical, I don't want to work with people that are disgusting, and I wouldn't want to. They have to be amazing people. You know.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines in D-Day from you
Yeah.
was when you guys were interrogating the Nazis, and you I think you were I think it was in that scene, but you said blow their ideologies out of the back of their head.
Yeah. That was improv too. I'm so glad you liked that. That was awesome. Yeah.
You used the word ideology like a few times in that movie, actually. Yeah.
It was interesting. I was trying to see like if I could be that coach character, that guide to help them all navigate through this conflicts and battle, like, but also to like show them like we have to think about our ideology. Like even the Vikings, they believed they were bears when the berserkers would attack and stuff. And like I was trying to see if I could be like let them know, they have the enemy has some very very um extreme ideologies, so we need to have that as well. What
Yeah,
was
for
that? There's
sure.
one
Yeah.
line, we need to show them the next evolution of savage or something like that. Yeah, it was when I got shot. We'll show them the next evolution of savage. That
The guy
was
who played oh, I thought it was awesome that oh my God, what's his name now? The guy who played Nikolai in that, the Polish farmer guy.
oh, with Martin. That was
Yeah,
Martin
Martin
Cole
Cole. Yeah,
Jesse.
fuck, he's awesome, man.
He's incredible. Yeah, and
I
his
was,
his
I was
son Jesse,
surprised he
we
did it.
grew up together. We went to Norway together, all kinds of stuff, and we that was a great scene to see them both act together, and then for me to be there as Rudder too. We He did a great Polish accent. Made me want to say "Jak się masz" and start speaking Polish or something. I could, but I only know a couple of words. But good.
And also, another incredible actor in that film was, I think his name's Sam Gibson.
Sam gives
Uh,
yes,
he played Wiley, or the medic, right?
he was impeccable.
Oh, like just him showing the trauma that he just experienced, and he's still trying to step up. And then you gave him the pep talk, right? And yeah, that was great, man.
Thank you, brother. That was a powerful scene. I mean, the writer Jeff walked up to me and showed me an email from some veterans. I have a lot of veteran friends. He does hand to hand combat, military style. I just saw I've always known the gravity of what combat can do to someone psychologically, but when I read that email, it really put more things into perspective for me, and I tried to really give a scene, both of us, but Wiley and I, Wiley and Rudder. That was the scene where we kind of made everyone feel really deeply about what this is, and the conflicts, how people have to bury things mentally, and it's vicious, you
No
know.
joke, man. War.
Yeah,
It's
we
fantastic.
that's like, the the obsessive thoughts that some people can get, the ruminations, when they get PTSD, if they just of course they can control their reaction to them. They can never, sometimes those thoughts never go away, like the character was saying. But if we make those thoughts a big deal and we look at them as an attack, then we get into attack mode and fight or flight, and then the ripple effect affects people around us. That's not good. If you have a little party going on and there's a room full of family and people that are very old, septuagenarian or centenarian, and then you have your little toddlers in there and you want to be calm and stuff, and you can switch modes or something like that. It's scary, like I've heard of certain instructors that have PTSD. I have a little, but I've resolved mine. I've heard of instructors that go flip into war mode from when they were in active duty, and their friend has to let them know, whoa, you're not there, and a good friend would let them know you're not there. You don't have to fight like that. That's not the world we're in. We're in the civilian world and stuff like that. But that's scary, man. That's kind of, I think, what happened with 211 with those guys. Those guys were taking muscle relaxers to self-medicate, and that just doesn't work. You're take a soma or something like that, or to use a painkiller or benzodiazepines, anything. No one should be popping that stuff and then carrying around 3,000 rounds of ammunition.
Yeah.
I wish someone should have talked some sense into everyone. There's maybe a couple guys that could have done that, but people don't take care of their veterans the way they should in this country. I think sometimes,
I think that is absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, it's bad, man. They should have the standard of mental health that the Navy SEALs have in every branch.
And what are your thoughts about, we have all these starving people in our own countries, Canada and US, a lot of homelessness, and yet we're, sending trillions of dollars to Ukraine.
It's impossible. I feel like it's not very heroic to let our veterans just starve after giving their lives. I tell people sometimes they think I'm joking, but I'm like, someone that goes to war, they have the same caliber and magnitude of awe factor as someone that's like a priest or a nun or something that's been working. I see them as the same kind of level of holiness, because they just gave, they were accepting the fact that they could die and they had to take a life for, that's on another level.
They were willing to sacrifice themselves.
Yeah. And then to let those people suffer. I walked with one for miles. He told me the only other person that ever spoke to him was my uncle Francis. He was a writer that didn't. He was unlucky, unfortunately, and his stuff was good, and he didn't get his stuff out there. But I heard his story, and we took a long walk, and he told me, and he had his psychologically, he was very present and presenting just fine. So I thought he was safe to be around. But it's sad, man. He came back from the war and they wanted to write a script and they're serious about it. And then the government's just like, yeah, but anyway, so yeah, how about this? And it's like, wait, you just made a sacrifice. And yeah, it doesn't work. It's not good.
I just don't understand it.
Neither do I, man. It's crazy. And sometimes those VA hospitals and stuff, they're over the top with I have some friends that deal with miscommunications and stuff. But he's in good hands, so
that's good.
Yeah.
So the two songs that you sent me that I'm going to share, can you talk about them? The writing process, thematically, what they're about, how you conceive them creatively.
Absolutely. Well, The Wolf and Phantom Clockwork are those tracks. Phantom Clockwork comes from the Prehistoric Technology album, which is the kind of the inception album of ghost metal, ghost rock. Then we have The Wolf, and that's the kind of an example of our new sound. It's one of the cleaner, more I could say, let's see, cleaner and a track that's good for dance and kind of like festivity. That would be the best
It's got a
example,
more
right?
mainstream vibe to it, I believe, but
Yeah.
still heavy in essence. Yeah.
And then the that heaviness is in Phantom Clockwork in a more thrashy way. It's like a
Okay.
thrash rock. It's um it's a track that I've been working on. What's my fiance? We've been talking about visuals. She's a fashion designer and has an incredible when she makes her visual, I'm astonished because the illustration is just coming from the universe like that through her, and I relate to it. But we're gonna do some stuff with Phantom Clockwork. I did the guitars, bass, every string instrument. So that would be bouzouki, sitar, bandolin, violins, and then there's also I did some keys, theremin, and also the industrial. We made some industrial tracks out of the out of objects, just even like steel toe boots or just random stuff. We built
Nice.
tracks of just out of that.
Like
I was amazed. I love playing.
soundscapes.
Yeah, I love playing
Yeah.
with the sound like timbres and stuff like that. And I did the vocals, and I got my friend Chase, who fills in a lot for OTEP to do the drums. I didn't want to play drums on that album, but it was great. There's one album on Ice that I did play drums on, and did every single instrument. That was quite a task. It actually started my hair graying at 25. It ignited that sideburn grays from how much I was focusing and stressed on that record.
Wow. That's
But
wild.
yeah, it was a lot. It was a combination of moving around and relocation, uh, relocation, fatherhood, uh, plus having to do an album where I'm handling all the instruments. That was very difficult. The drumming, I personally like the drum for like jamming, but recording drums sometimes I'm not the best.
Probably because you got to be way too tight, right? Can't be so
Yeah,
loose. Yeah.
yeah,
Especially
it's
in heavy music. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Weston, I think we'll wrap it up here, but any links you want to share at all? Do you have like one
Yeah,
go-to where everybody can find you in one shot?
yeah. We have the link tree on my Instagram, Weston Cage Coppola, at Weston Cage Coppola. Um, there's that, and then there's also, of course, um, yeah, there's that, and then we have the record, of course, on iTunes. We have the song "The Wolf" available. Uh, People can still order it, and then also Prehistoric Technology is available on iTunes. Um, so that's a great album for people that want to kind of hear where I've gone with ghost metal before. It was done with Phil Anderson, who is an absolute genius, um, mastering, and he does more mixing and mastering sounds like legend in Canada. So the record was partially he won the Juno Award, and then I think that the record did get some kind of recognition in Canada too. I won an award in Vegas for that record, but I think a lot of that is because of Phil Anderson. The way we worked together was just incredible.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for your time. I could probably go on for a little longer, but I won't keep you. But thank you so much for your time, man, and take care. And I wish you great success, man.
Thank you so much. Blessed to be. Great success to you as well. And let's do this again sometime soon.
Sounds good, brother.
Really, brother. Blessed to be.